is the Product Analytics PM UX Weekly Sync for October 18th. So going through the agenda, looking back on last week's action items, we actually didn't have a call last week. We were async. Set out action items from there. And I don't think there's anything from the 4th either. Doesn't look like it at a quick glance. So then latest prototype results of research. So I have the first comment here. We haven't had much for feedback lately on any. We do have new features, new prototypes recently released or coming, and wanted to brainstorm a bit with the group about how can we get more feedback on those earlier as a team. Yeah, you had the first comment there if you want to voice over.
Sure. I guess I just wanted to know if we had any idea about what the bottleneck is, because I feel like there's like two separate main problems that each require a unique approach, whether it's lack of engagement that's causing a lack of feedback or just simply a lack of feedback.
It's lack of engagement with trying to get the prototypes out in front of folks. It's not that we get nice responses of, yeah, that's great, we'll get back to you, but that's about it so far. So what I want to do, my next tactic for that is work with Martin to add instrumentation to that releases overview site. That gets a decent amount of traffic. It is a popular tool amongst the customer success team to show them what they can get with product analytics with a very simple add into that JavaScript code. And then try to drive some engagement there. Maybe that use case is a better one for them. It's also a little bit more applicable, I think, to some of the teams that we're going after our ideal first customer. Here's a web portal that shows you information that somebody can download. That is something then that you could instrument on your side to show how many users are using it. So, Dennis, welcome. Do you want to voice over your comment?
Yeah, this is a total I've been gone too long and no context. Is this with regards to like new features and prototypes and the feedback or lack thereof, is that specifically related to product analytics, or is that like a general theme across GitLab right now? Or
I'm just looking at it through the lens of product analytics.
Okay.
Rob, you're up next.
This is probably more we have to wait till beta, but I would having some kind of blog post raising awareness that we have this thing in experimentation. If anyone wants to voice their willingness to join up and engage with us on it, would that help at all?
Probably can't hurt. I actually have one in draft right now that I'm working on to show the update where we're at, that we're almost to beta, and talk about, hey, we're testing at scale with data from GitLab to prove out that this is a thing that will stand up for the biggest of loads and things that we've learned from that process so far.
That's the building GitLab with GitLab post. Got it.
I guess one other thing we could look at doing if we've got the engineering resource is a lot of new features will add like feedback pop out to ask people to submit their feedback in a less formal fashion. So I guess that's another option we could look at, having some kind of tooltip or pop out or something which says, would you like to provide a bit of feedback for this new feature?
Yeah, I think when we get closer to beta or into even GA, that's going to be a good opportunity for us. I think if we can show that product analytics dashboard measuring product analytics, that'll be a nice use case for other product managers within GitLab and drive some feedback from that team. Instrumenting some tools that the customer success team is using and showing them usage of those tools will be an interesting use case for them. I think we're just lacking a real concrete, here is something we've built with GitLab and instrumented with product analytics, and here's the value of seeing that usage of that tool. So that you can see from end to end how many users are using it, or if it's that releases overview tool, what's the most common here that people are looking at that they're trying to get data about, and then they can start to formulate ideas about why is that, use that data in their day-to-day.
Is it centered around getting feedback internally, externally, or doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter,
Okay.
to be honest. The
Okay.
more feedback we get from users, the more user-centric we can be, the better product we're going to put out. We do have to make sure that we're always thinking about, hey, how do we use this is different than how other users might use it. Make sure we're not
Right.
only building for our own use cases, but
Mhm.
the most apt audience, I think, right now is going to be our internal product and engineering folks.
For sure. I just wasn't sure if we were trying to get people excited internally so that they can go out and advocate for potentially getting this in front of like, you know, accounts they manage or something like that.
I mean, that
just
is my sneaky want with instrumenting customer success tools. Yeah.
Okay, well then I'm glad I asked. Like if it's to get feedback generally, I think that's one thing. But if we really want to kind of target to like generate interest from externally, I think we should like focus on that with the intention of like we want any feedback. But like
Yeah.
I think that should be like front and center.
That's fair.
Sneakily up in front and center.
Sneakily
so,
front and center.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have on my to-do list for this week, hopefully, to try to get some instrumentation to that releases overview. Maybe if anybody's around on Friday and wants to help me hack together something, we can pair on that. Hey, look at Dennis raising his hand because I could do infrastructure.
We have focus days, right? So
I
got time.
cannot find a link or to this issue in like my inbox, but James, I remember that we had, or that you created an issue in like exploring methods to gather feedback.
Yeah.
On Product Analytics. Yeah, so I'm wondering if we could use that for solutions. It feels like we're at a stage where we still need to figure out where exactly our problem is and also ways to increase that engagement. But I think it would be good to link that into our available solutions that we can use.
I'll hunt that issue up and link it back into the agenda and share it in Slack for the team.
Awesome, thank you. And thanks for typing that out.
Yeah.
I'm bad at thinking, speaking, and typing.
Same.
But ultimately, my impression of this problem is that it's a thing of, it seems like we don't either sell our value enough, or we don't have the right value for people to be using product analytics at this stage en masse. In terms of in terms of measuring engagement and drop off, I actually think this is something where product analytics instrumented on product analytics could be useful for us to get that insight, and it's, you know, makes us more of a user of it, which drives engagement. So
absolutely, yep. That's why one of the proposed key results for next quarter is implement that product analytics dashboard for product analytics.
Yeah, I feel like we'll need to have a code word or something for that, because that can sound confusing.
Yeah. Just a lot of words too.
Speaking, we have time. Robert Jan, with maintainer access, are you able to define a repository for custom dashboards on the GitLab project?
Let me verify 1 sec.
Yeah, because I was going to write an issue. Well, I still can write an issue for that, but like I wanted to start get that started. But the first step is to actually have a place where it can read the dashboard.
I do see the setting.
Okay.
I am not going to go pick a project right now to see if it saves, but technically, because I can see it, I should be able to save it.
I have a project set up, but I won't point. I'll create the issue before we actually execute on that. I'm not able to create a project. I don't think anyone. I think you have to put an access request to actually put it directly under the GitLab org organization or group. But I'm just going to put it in analytics section for now, and then we can move it if someone really feels strongly that we want to. Like ideally, that would be the place where people go to like add any dashboard they want. I'm happy to give anyone rights there, but I'm just trying to figure out the lowest friction way of just getting that started.
Okay, let me know. I'm happy to do it. And if I've got access, that means Sean's got access too.
Yeah,
we have all the power.
You have more power than I do. So thanks for answering that.
Cool. Thanks for that discussion, y'all. Appreciate it. I'm gonna move us along in the agenda then to reviewing any questions about the upcoming implementations. I forgot to link Usage Quota and Visualization Designer MVC. I think the latter one is well in hand, if not really close to already being done. But any questions or things that need clarification in the usage quota work that's coming up?
Usage quota, Owen's making really good progress in that regard. We've got a basic app working, and he's started to scope out adding the table. He's working on adding the basic table structure, and he's come up with a concept for the previous next project, column graph, using the existing functionality. I have asked him to add designs for what the he's listed in the implementation plan to add empty states and error accept state, etc. But I'd like to see what that looks like before we give that go ahead. So that's the next step. But it sounds like it's well in hand. To have meaningful, if not basically near completion by the end of 16.6, I'd assume.
And another reminder that 16.6 is going to be a shorter milestone because of the new release schedule. I think that is the first one that releases on the third Thursday. Yeah, so November 16th is the release date. So we're short almost a full week of what we would be used to.
I had a question about the availability of the product analytics tab in the usage quota page, which is specifically like, is this something we should show if product analytics as a feature is disabled? The onboard state I don't think matters that much, but Alvin made an assumption there that similar to pipelines, this is something we can just always show and leave it as empty if it's doesn't have any usage, which I'm inclined to agree with, but I just wanted to double check if that seems fine from a usability case.
That's fine for me. I think we could, instead of just being purely empty, we can add a blurb about this is an ultimate feature. Read more about it here if you want to enable or try it out. Just link into the docs.
Having it empty is a no-go for me, but I agree with James. Having a call to action there would be a really useful driver, in my opinion, to say, go set this up, essentially.
I haven't been part of the conversation, but how are users going to get to the usage quota page? Like, generally, is it just a link in the analytics submenu?
Usage quota is an existing page.
Oh,
at the project level, it's under the user, and at the group level, it's as part of the settings.
Okay. So how does it work currently then, if we're talking about like it's going to be blank if we don't have anything there?
So how pipelines work, in the thread I linked to, you'll see a screenshot by Alvin. It says like there's no data available yet. It's blank in terms of data. It wouldn't be just a blank. We wouldn't display like nothing. But we would display some sort of blurb about like there's nothing to show here. And then James and Rob suggested like adding their 2 cents to say, let's add a call to action, make this more useful than just saying we don't have anything here, saying there could be something there. But this is something specifically that I think people in charge of billing for customers care about.
Yeah.
It's not something that is linked to usually from any other feature pages that I've seen. It's something specific, like I'm a type of user that cares about billing. I go to this page and I check it out for my entire organization or for my own personal profile.
That makes sense. I see what's happening now. Thanks for thinking that. Yeah, I would be inclined to agree. Yeah, some call to action or reference to the feature would be useful.
Cool. I'll relay the feedback on the MR.
There's some examples of tab with no data, but direction back on the pipeline page. I'll screenshot those and drop them into that thread as well.
Since it's feature flagged anyways, I suppose it's all right if we can do that as a follow-up issue, not to impede his current MR, right? Or
Yeah, correct.
cool.
Regarding the visualization design MVC, I'm assuming you've linked to James to the MVC epic, not the post MVC epic. So I'm assuming you're referencing. Well, I should clarify. Is it the post or the MVC?
It is the initial MVC because I didn't realize how far along we were when I put the initial notes in.
Right. Okay. In that regard, click events, it's in the last bit of that is in review with Elwin, and then we're going to maintain review for front end, and then that's done. So the only last bit is tracking and rolling it out. I guess rolling it out within the confines of Product Analytics overarching feature flag, to be fair, but removing the editor feature flag.
Lee had an MR to add a table of custom events. Should that roll into this epic? Is there an issue for that work at all? And if it shouldn't roll into this epic, where should it land so we can get it rolled out? Because that'd be super helpful.
That is merged in already. So it is within the visualization editor under the visualization editor feature flag. So as soon as we roll that out, it rolls his changes out, which me and Dennis were saying at least I was saying in the one-to-one that it's essentially a custom events MVC just to be able to dump your event name and event properties in a stringified format onto a page in the table.
Love it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Cool.
I don't
Right.
think he had an issue though. I think it was just a pure MR.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if we had an issue created or not for that. All right. So moving into, just are we wrapped up? Are we good on the visualization designer discussion then? All right. Moving into what's coming next. Didn't leave nearly as much time as I thought I would. I thought we'd get through the beginning of this meeting a little bit faster. That's my bad. But this meeting is probably not the best venue for this discussion either, but I wanted to kind of kick off that conversation. As we're getting visualization designer, the MVC is wrapping up. We have a good post MVC around some cleanup stuff, but that's only one part of the solution space that we've talked about, even have issues for. I think there's other areas that we could explore as well in this space of, I don't want to learn a new language, show me the data. Where that's a really broad statement and customers don't just literally want a data dump of data. They want data they can look at, do something with, compare, contrast, answer questions, ask questions of. There's a lot of caveats that go along with that statement. So wanted to start the conversation of how do we explore this space? When I mentioned it yesterday in our call, kind of put an AI lens on it. And Jan, you had a question about that. So I'm gonna give you a chance to read your comment.
Yeah, I'll quickly voice it. My question is just about that this seems to be focused solely on AI solutions right now, or at least that's where a lot of that's a typical topic of discussion, like you said, the AI lens. So I just wanted to check if we're also considering other solutions like the visualization designer.
Yeah, I think, like I said, there's a lot of space here, or there's a lot of different things that we could explore. I put the AI lens on it because there's focus there as an overall org. It makes it a little bit, I think, more feasible to build, but that's why we should brainstorm and then ask questions and test our assumptions about these things. And it rolls up to an OKR. So it's a good time to start that conversation earlier than later in the next quarter around what could an AI type solution look like for, hey, I have questions about my data. How do I answer them? And we already have a POC in hand and an iteration on that POC. Maybe that's the first or the boring solution is take what we've already done and just wrap it up. Maybe there's something else that is better, but we can't decide and do it unless we talk about it. So wanted to kick off the conversation.
If I remember, the POC is to essentially create a visualization. Is that correct? Like you say, I want this data to be shown, and then the chatbot goes off and generates a visualization file for you or something similar. Is that correct?
That sounds familiar, but I don't recall exactly. I know Tim's POC looked like it was built into Visualization Designer and gave back a query that you could then use to create the visualization, if I'm remembering that video correctly.
Yeah.
I think Alan took it in the direction of Duo, of ask questions and get some answers that way. But I don't think I ever saw a final version or a demo version of that.
I think that's what we'll need to hash out, right, James? Because we kind of have, I guess part of it was like we wanted to see what was possible because we can take it a variety of ways, right? We can have it just like give us the result of what we're asking for. Like if you don't want to learn the query language, and like maybe it can answer it, like give you the answer of like here's how many page views you've had across like here's your top 5 browsers or whatever. But then give it the like maybe there can be like a quick action. I'm not familiar with like the nomenclature of the patterns with Duo, but like you could then like, well, can you create a visualization for me where it would use the query it used? Then like, okay, well, it's saved here. When we get like, and we'll have to figure out how much of that like process to save it or add it to an existing dashboard we really want to add there. But like, we can define that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a pretty sleek solution. I think that also kind of fits in with the UX vision that Kevin created a while back, which was in that sidebar where you kind of like had a conversation first to create a custom visualization. And I also think that leaves room for the visualization designer to kind of be the place where you can then, once you have that visualization, to do some fine tuning on it.
Yeah.
Because AI is very exciting and great, but it's difficult to get those fine controls into it, especially if you're trying to do that via a conversation.
For sure.
Whereas a control panel, like the visualization designer, is a much better, in my personal opinion, a much better UI.
Yeah, and I don't think we're I don't know if this is a concern or not, but like I don't think we're trying to use one to like supplant the other. It's just different avenues of like really trying to invite users of varying levels of data literacy and the familiarity with these kinds of tools to figure out, okay, do you have just a general question? You know, how I found AI tools in general is like it requires some human intervention at least after you get the general answer that you're looking for. So I think the two can work well together, visualization designer and you know, Duo integration or whatever we're going to call it. But yeah, and kind of like here's like you don't know what you're really looking for, or you just have some general questions, answering like from a general sense, and then inviting us to like save that and modify that or expand on that. And the visualization designer, I think, is a good
It's a
way
nice
to think about
pathway
it.
from the I have questions about data and I don't really know what I'm going to do with that yet. Like we have like in the data channel, we could go there and just start mining for questions that people ask about GitLab data, like how many Ultimate users should we have? How many users created an Epic last week? Now, these are the kinds of questions that you could see GitLab product folks asking in Duo, as opposed to going and hunting down a Sisense dashboard or asking in Tableau or whatever the tool might be. Where if you can do that within the issue where you're typing up a new idea and get the data right there, it streamlines that workflow. And then similar for when they're implementing, say, hey, I want to now build a chart around this and compare it to what it was before this feature was released.
Yeah, and these are still like additional VCs from like what we've delivered so far with the dashboards, even or generally with product analytics too, because like if we kind of zoom back out to what we have envisioned for product analytics, like mixing that with the rest of the platform data, then theoretically you can start asking Duo, why are my page views down for the week? And then if you have additional data from like your releases or your bugs, your error tracking, your observability, then you could start to like see what's possible there that users might not be aware of already.
Yeah, from a user journeys perspective, I see 3 areas where people are gonna want help, I guess, in understanding our current system and our data. One is going to an inbuilt dashboard or a dashboard that's already existing and asking questions about the data they're seeing right now. As per Dennis asked, you know, why are my page views down this week? And getting clarification on the data you're seeing. Then the next part is I want to build my own dashboard. Can you help me do that? So taking AI to the dashboard creation page, saying I want to be able to see this data, X, Y, Z, whatever, and it generates the various graphs for you, visualization, sorry, for you. And then thirdly is what Kevin has already scoped out in a way, is I adding visualizations to this dashboard and I want to add more. I know I've got this data. Can you make me a visualization that represents that? And in those three ways, we're sort of answering the question. We're sort of answering the user need from a less technical point of view to be able to render your data and understand it and analyze it in a way that is human readable, which is the whole point of product analytics, essentially.
Cool. Well, we're nearing time, but I don't want this to be the only part of this conversation. So what I would propose is a couple of think big and think small sessions that we have as a broader team. And I can moderate those. We can do something EMEA friendly, something APAC friendly for both sessions, record them, do that in a big Jamboard, I guess we would be using now, to kind of have that broader discussion around what does more of the solution space look like. Part of that can be the AI discussion. So I'd like to do that sooner than later. So I will work to find times to schedule that in the next 2 weeks of getting the sessions together. And I'll share all of the Think Big, Think Small resources with plenty of time so everyone can read through it and get into the right mindset for thinking big and thinking small for the different sessions. And we'll go from there. But this is a great kickoff to the discussion. I'll link back to this for context for everybody. Cool. With that, I think we're at the end of the agenda, unless I'm missing something. Take a couple of read-only items for folks watching the video. Jump into the agenda to check those out. Otherwise, I think we're good. Have a great day, everyone. Cheers.
Bye.